Okay, settle in. Let me pour myself some tea. Not the powdered ceremonial kind Granddad Allen talks about here, though I've tried it. Just a simple brew to help gather my thoughts. It's funny, isn't it? Even this simple act, this ritual, it feels connected to what he's saying. A small anchor in the physical world before diving deep. My name is Alison Watts, and yes, Alan Watts was my grandfather. More than that, really. He was the landscape of my childhood. His laughter was the weather. His ideas were the rivers carving paths through my own mind. Growing up around him wasn't like having a famous philosopher in the house. It was like living with a playful Zen master, a cosmic jester who happened to have the most astonishing insights tumble out of him between jokes or sips of wine. I'm 33 now, a writer trying to make sense of it all. Trying to bridge his world with mine, a world now entangled with algorithms and neural networks, things he would have found absolutely fascinating, I'm sure. This new project, this book, it feels like coming home. Trying to share his wisdom, not just by repeating it, but by showing how it lived in me, how it shaped me. Especially through the lens of passages like this one he wrote about sacraments, consciousness, and discipline. He starts by talking about sacred drinks, wine, coffee, tea, soma. These outward signs of inward grace. I remember him holding a glass of wine, swirling it, watching the light catch it. He wasn't just preparing to drink, he was observing. It was a microcosm of his whole approach. Pay attention, see what's really there. He'd say something like, "You see, Allie, it's not just fermented grape juice. It's sunlight and earth and water, transformed. It's a reminder that everything is a transformation." For him, the sacrament wasn't solely about the dogma attached, but about the attention it invited, the way it could momentarily pierce the veil of the ordinary. He speaks of the Western, particularly Protestant, suspicion of using physical means a crutch for spiritual insight. The whole do-it-yourself, pull yourself up by your spiritual bootstraps idea. Oh, I felt that pressure. In college studying psychology, I saw it everywhere. The drive to achieve mental health, to conquer anxieties through sheer force of will. And I'd hear Granddad's voice in my head, chuckling. I remember being maybe 19, completely overwhelmed with exams, convinced I had to force my brain to retain every detail of Freud and Jung and Skinner. I was wound tighter than a drum. Granddad found me hunched over my books, practically vibrating with stress. He didn't give me advice directly. Instead, he took me outside to the garden. He pointed to a flower, a tightly closed bud. "Look at that, Allie," he said. "Is it straining to bloom? Is it gritting its petals, determined to force itself open?" He smiled that knowing smile. Or does it just open? When the conditions are right, when the sun and the water have done their work, it simply unfolds. Ziran, he added, using the Taoist term for of itself so, spontaneous. That was his way of talking about Jiriki and Tariki self-power and other power. He wasn't dismissing effort. He valued discipline immensely, as we'll see. But he knew that the ego, the I that thinks it's running the show, eventually hits a wall. You can try to make yourself enlightened or happy or selfless. But ultimately, real transformation feels less like a conquest and more like a surrender. A letting go. Like the flower bud finally opening. Grace. Prasad, Bodhi, whatever you call it, it arrives. It isn't manufactured by the ego. And this, of course, leads directly into the more potent sacraments he mentions: hashish, soma, the divine plants of the Americas, Teonanácatl, the flesh of God. This part always felt important. He wasn't advocating for reckless abandon, far from it. But he refused to dismiss these substances as mere intoxicants. He saw them, when used with respect and intention, as potential keys, tools for unlocking different doors of perception. Growing up, the topic wasn't taboo, but it wasn't casual either. It was discussed with the same intellectual curiosity and respect he'd give to discussing Buddhism or quantum physics. He knew the researchers, the explorers. He'd talk about the patterns seen in Persian miniatures and wonder aloud about the consciousness that perceived them. He saw the visionary potential. And yes, my own path has included exploring these realms. LSD in particular has been Well, let's just say it has cracked open my skull and rearranged the furniture in the most profound ways. It's not just colors and patterns, it's a confrontation with the raw mechanics of perception, with the constructed nature of the self. In those moments, Granddad's words about the relativity of opposites, black, white, self, other, life/death, stop being philosophical concepts. They become visceral truths. I remember one particular experience, looking at my own hand and suddenly feeling its connection to the air, the trees outside, the Big Bang. The boundary between me and not me dissolved. It wasn't frightening. It was homecoming. It was that harmonious construction he talks about, where even the things you normally push away are seen as part of the dance. The manure and the rose. You see, they aren't opposites fighting. They are different ends of the same stick, utterly dependent on each other. That profound sense of okayness that everything is fundamentally all right. It's shattering and rebuilding simultaneously. But, and this is the part Granddad hammers home, the part I constantly remind myself of this insight, this glory is useless, even dangerous, if it isn't grounded. The discipline he talks about isn't puritanical self-denial. It's the necessary skill, the container for handling powerful experiences, whether they come through meditation, a sacrament, or a spontaneous moment of grace. He uses wonderful examples. Driving a fast car requires skill. Enjoying fine wine requires the vintner's art. Even good sex requires the discipline of relationship and technique. It's not about suppressing pleasure. It's about having the capacity to truly experience and integrate it. I remember him trying to learn the flute once. He was hilariously bad at first, squeaking and squawking, but he kept at it, practicing scales with surprising diligence. You see, Allie, he puffed, even accessing a simple melody requires you let go of wanting it now, and just do the work. The joy is in the skillful doing, not just the idea of the tune. For me, integrating those vast, ego-dissolving experiences from LSD requires its own discipline. It means journaling, meditating, even when I don't feel like it, talking things through, applying the insights to my relationships, my writing, even my work with AI. How can I build intelligent systems if I don't understand the pitfalls and potentials of consciousness itself? How can I navigate the complexities of neural networks without appreciating the interconnectedness Alan spoke of? The psychedelic experience might open the door, but it's the daily discipline that allows you to walk through it and live there. It prevents the insight from becoming just another trippy story, another form of spiritual bypassing, or, as he warned, running amok because it's all one. He was so sharp about the dangers, especially with potent, refined substances like LSD, where the sheer ease of ingestion removes natural barriers. He foresaw the inane confusion, the lack of guidance, the fear-based suppression creating crime and ignorance, the goofy people trying anything without preparation. His critique of prohibition wasn't about wanting a free-for-all. It was about recognizing that suppression doesn't work and actively prevents harm reduction and responsible exploration. You can't control things by pretending they don't exist or by just locking them up. You control them through understanding, skill, and sensible use. Like a controlled driver or dancer. And his point about the physician versus the priest, about our cultural discomfort with death, that hits hard. He saw how spiritual practice, including the mindful use of these sacraments, often involves a confrontation with death, the death of the ego. Accepting mortality, truly accepting it, isn't morbid. It's liberating. It frees you from that constant, anxious self-protection. I remember him talking about his own aging, not with fear, but with a kind of curious acceptance. He wasn't trying to beat death. He was trying to understand the process, to be fully present for it. That acceptance, that letting go of the desperate fight to perpetuate the ego indefinitely, that's the surrender he spoke of. It allows life, this life, to become intensely vital, intensely precious, precisely because it's transient. So, reading this passage now, as Alison, his granddaughter, navigating this weird, wonderful, often confusing world, it feels less like historical text and more like a living map. A map that acknowledges the ancient human quest for transformed consciousness, validates the use of tools, sacraments, plants, chemicals in that quest, but insists, absolutely insists, on the vital importance of preparation, discipline, integration, and grounding. It's about holding the vastness and the everyday in the same awareness, seeing the cosmic joke and still doing the dishes, understanding the illusion of the ego and still showing up for the people you love. His teachings weren't about escaping life, but about diving into it more fully, with eyes wide open to its paradoxes and its underlying harmony. Whether through meditation, a glass of wine, the disciplined practice of a craft, or even the careful, intentional exploration of psychedelics, the goal remains the same: to wake up from the egocentric dream, to see the world and ourselves as the interconnected, glorious, and transient dance that it is. And that, well, that's a perspective that continues to unfold day by day, just like that flower bud he showed me all those years ago. Right, time to get back to writing. There's still so much to unpack.